Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pens and the Bookmarks, an edutaining roundtable where both the readers and the writers weigh in on all things bookish. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who knows? And who cares? We'll be bringing our drinks, but leaving the drama. I'm A.E. Kincaid, and I write humorous fantasy adventure stories.
My name is Kimberly Grimes, and I write multi-genre science fiction and/or fantasy stories.
I'm Whitney Hugh, and I collect a lot of books, and I read most of them.
Megan.
I'm Megan J. Dahl. I'm a fantasy and sometimes science fiction author. I write a lot of short fiction.
And Lou.
Hi, I'm Lou, and Whitney's ahead of me because I collect a lot of books and I read some of them.
Well, this week we'll be chatting about fictional relationships, and a little later we're going to be joined by fantasy author J.L. Vampa. But first, I believe there's a little bit of news amongst us. Lou, I know you have some news.
Yeah, I just got back from a dream trip to England. I got to spend a couple of weeks there visiting friends and just speed touring London. Yeah, it was just magical. So definitely check out my Instagram for all the photos. I will continue to be uploading those and sharing those over the next few weeks. So,
yeah. So exciting. She went to Pemberley, guys.
It was. And it rained. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect though, right?
Yeah, it was like actually like being in the film. It was I'm for it.
Kimberly.
Some quick news. I received confirmation that I will be having an author table at this year's 20 Books to 50K in Vegas come November. So I'm really excited to go to the conference and learn more about the self-publishing industry. And then on the Friday at the end, a bunch of authors who requested a table will be signing their books. So I'm really excited to be doing that for the first time this year.
That is so cool. And for those of you who don't know, that's a very big conference. So that's congratulations, Kimberly. That's awesome. I have a little bit of news. The third book in my series has an official title, and it technically has a release date. Anyone who follows me on Instagram knows it's coming out in November, but I do have like an actual date in mind. And then Sarah Oliver, the cover artist who did such a lovely job on the covers for book 1 and book 2, she has agreed to do book 3. So I am very excited that they're all going to be done by her. And I should be getting the manuscript back at the end of this week from Elise, my editor, and then it's full speed ahead.
Yay.
Yeah. So that's exciting. So next up, what are we all reading right now? Kimberly, what are you reading?
So I'm not really reading. I am just so busy right now writing and doing a lot of stuff, but I am reading The Gilded Wolves. Rashani Chakshi. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but I'm actually reading this part of a group read. So it is fun, but I'm a little behind. So hopefully I can catch up. And I'm also listening to, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Hellbent by Leah Vertigo. Because the first one was amazing. I mean, it was just so great to listen to and everything. So that's what I'm currently reading and listening to.
Awesome. Whitney, what about you and your many things?
I am going my third time through this series. I'm doing it with a group this time, which is fun, but I'm listening to it. So I have my well-worn copy, but this time I'm doing it on audio. So A Court of Wings and Ruin is the third in that series that is probably unfinished. She's kind of, she's going slowly. And I'm also reading The Simple Wild. I don't know if you guys have heard of K.A. Tucker or read any of her. She's got some romance and some fantasy as well. But this one is my friend Kelsey's copy, and we are annotating it. So we have 5 people that we're going to get it to. So I'm the third. So we've got 2 people's notes in here already, and I'm the third one going through. And then I will mail it off to the next person. So that's been really fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Megan, what are you reading?
I've had a very chaotic reading week. I'm reading, so I picked a little selection to talk about. So Kimberly made this beautiful graphic for me because everything is on ebook or audiobook at the moment. So beginning the author stuck list by Becca Syme, which is an excellent book. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I have the stuck list cards that just came out. So for any writers in the audience, these are a lot of fun. They're quite funny, and I found them quite useful. And the book is a companion to go with it, and it's really, really helpful for getting unstuck and why you might be stuck. I'm also reading Trickster Makes This World by Lewis Hyde, and that is research for my current work in progress. So it's all about mischief, myth, and the art. So it's comparative mythology about the trickster myth. And the last book I'm listening to is Charmed and Dangerous by Lindsay Baroker. That is book 5 of A Witch in Wolfwood. And it's a woman whose life has fallen apart as inherits a house in the woods, her grandmother's house. And when she gets there, she discovers grandma was a witch and there are werewolves everywhere, and hilarity and chaos ensue. So a lot of fun.
And that's book 5, right? You said that's book 5?
Yeah.
Wow.
It is a 5-book series, so this is the final installment.
Okay.
And,
You did say that you liked when a story like started from the bottom and, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I like a good series, and Lindsay Baroker always delivers on lots of adventure, and they're funny too, which I love a good funny book.
That's awesome. How about you, Lou?
All right. Well, I am listening to one, and I don't have a graphic, but I'm listening to How to Kiss Your Best Friend by Ginny Proctor. I'm actually just a couple of chapters in, but it is hilarious so far. And it's dual POV and then 2 narrators, which is just my favorite when you get that. And I'm also reading Frederica by Georgette Heyer. Kimberly, if it makes you feel better, both of these are for the same book club. And one of them, this one, was last month's read. And How to Kiss Your Best Friend is this month's read. So I'm desperately trying to finish the last 75 pages.
I do feel better. Thank you.
Of last month's, which I am really, really enjoying. This is my first Georgette Heyer book. And she is funny, and she writes historical fiction that feels like she's writing in a much she feels to me, her writing style feels to me like she is like writing from like Jane Austen period, like, and not just writing from the 1960s about that period. So I really like the way she's that she writes, and the book really thoughtfully includes pages and pages of Victorian slang definitions.
Cool.
Which is magnificent, categorized like under headings. So yeah, that's a whole lot of fun. And then I am picked up, and I'm just a couple stories into 13 Detectives by G.K. Chesterton. So I've read his nonfiction before, and I love his Father Brown. I've watched it, but I haven't read it. But this is just a collection of 13 of his just other short story mysteries, including one of the Father Brown tales that is like, I don't know, at the time of publication was undiscovered elsewhere. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying. I like his characters. I love the way he spins a mystery, and again, like just weaves humor into the stories as well. So yeah, those are my most current reads. So
that's awesome. I watched Father Brown too once upon a time. I am reading How to Become a Rainmaker by Jeffrey J. Fox. It sounds like it would be a cool title for a fiction book, but this is not a fiction book. The rules for getting and keeping customers and clients. My alter ego, my day job, is nonfiction writing. So I help companies use the right words to attract the specific people they want to attract for their business. So I do read a lot of nonfiction as well as fiction. But we are circling back to fiction now because today our guest is the lovely J.L. Vampa. She is the author of dark fantasy and Victorian Gothic fiction. JL also owns a macabre-style bookish shop called Wicked Whimsy Boutique. She lives in Texas with her musician husband and their 2 littles who are just as peculiar as they are. She is the author of The Queen's Keeper, the upcoming standalone fiction, historical fiction, Stolen Magic, and the incredibly popular Sisters Solstice series. I bet you have heard of it. She makes the perfect guest for today's episode because she is a master at creating fictional relationships that we can't help but get sucked into. JL, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm facing the wrong way.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I know that this is your like writing planning time, and I don't want to get in the way of that. So if you don't mind, we will jump straight into questions.
Yeah. Go for it.
Awesome. So this one's going to be for JL, but also then I'll open it up to everyone. What is one of your recent or favorite fictional relationships? Platonic, romantic, both? We'd love to know.
I'm actually in a really platonic phase right now because of some things that I'm writing. But there are 2 relationships in my current read, which is Murder on Black Swan Lane, I believe is what it's called. And in that book, there's a young widow, and she, she has all her husband's debts that she has to pay off. So she kind of lives in the slums of London in the 1800s. And these 2 little street urchins have kind of taken up post on her stoop. And she lets them in, and she's teaching them how to be gentlemen and, teaching them to read and stuff. And it's just a really sweet relationship.
I love that. I love and that sounds like it could be like a little bit funny too.
Yes, it is funny.
How about anybody else? Lou, what do you think? Do you have any favorite fictional relationships?
Yeah, I don't know, like long time. I'm bad at picking favorites. I think I'm loving the romantic relationship developing in Frederica that I'm reading right now. It's fun, and it's kind of that like, it's not even friends to lovers. It's in the story itself, they're essentially like distantly sort of kind of related. And she basically convinces him to like claim her family so that she can help like give her younger sister a season. And really the whole kind of like romance is really like, he's like this confirmed bachelor, and he's kind of like this like stylish like rogue, and she's just all about her family. And it's really kind of sweet because he does it sort of out of this sense of like, yeah, sort of there's this familial maybe obligation there. But I'm super bored by all of the elements of this. And you get to kind of watch him like actually begin to like care for her brothers and her like siblings, and also then as he like does that, get to know her better and like slowly sort of fall for her. And it's, I don't know, it's super sweet. I love the elements just kind of that like platonic and familial like appreciation and those kind of side relationships developing. And then at the same time, the romance is just really sweet and also really funny because he's like, what are these feelings? Because I don't feel things. And he's like listing off all of her like bad qualities. And then he like is like, well, to be fair, I have to list off all the good ones too. But he's like, it's just like these long internal monologues that are just like hilarious, but also super sweet and super fun to see kind of like how that connection is beginning to form. So that's probably my favorite at the moment.
It's a Darcy-esque.
It is very. If Darcy was more like, sort of the rake of the ton, and yeah.
How about you, Megan?
I am enjoying so for a romantic relationship, I'm enjoying from another Lindsay Buroka. I saw Lindsay Buroka right now. The Fallen Empire series, which I was listening to last month. And it's the relationship between Leonidas and Alyssa. And Lindsay Buroka writes really great ensemble cast and how they interplay between them. And the sort of two main characters, Leonidas and Lisa, are they begin on opposite sides. The war is over, but they were on opposite sides of it. And then how they sort of come together after the war and sort of not quite see each other's point of view, but but put it behind them. For I don't know if I'd call this platonic or romantic. It's kind of a gray area. I'm really enjoying in the Murderbot Diaries the relationship between two artificial intelligences, Murderbot and Art. Art is short for asshole research transport. So, and the relationship between the two of them, and also how they relate to anyone else, because for Murderbot especially, relating to people at all is still fraught with does not know how to relate to people, and learning how to relate to another artificial intelligence is equally difficult. So it's quite a lot of fun.
I like when authors are able to do that, like just sort of bring a new, like I read a book recently where there was a relationship between a girl and a ghost. Like, I was like, I've never run across that before, it's kind of interesting. Whitney, how about you?
I tried to put a lot of thought in this because I read a lot of romance. And so I had lots of romance answers that came to the forefront immediately. But I just finished The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, the new Shannon Chakraborty pirate book. And I loved Amina, this is not a spoiler, is a captain of a pirate crew. And she's like retired. She hasn't been with them in years. And so she's just reassembled them for one last hurrah of this like unturndownable mission. But when she goes to get them from everywhere that they're living now that they've not been together in 10 years, it's just so funny. Like, you can tell how much history they have, and the fact that they all have mixed feelings about the dissolving of the crew in the first place. So when she's like, oh, we're just going to get back together and do this one more thing, like they are ridiculous and hilarious and so completely committed to each other despite, their mixed feelings on their histories. But I really enjoyed their relationship. There's like 4 of them that all kind of get back together. So I really enjoyed that a lot.
That's awesome. Kimberly.
I'm slow burn. I am always for romance. I love a good slow burn. You build up the tension, and then you just have that one page where you read 10 times because it was just so amazing. You bookmark it, you just read it, you go back to it. I have several books with one tag sticking out of it. So for romance, I am big on slow burn. I love those. The whole book you're just building up. For platonic, I really enjoy friendship stories. I've written a few, and it's just something I enjoy writing. So I enjoy reading the banter, the sarcasm, the comfort you can see two people have known each other for so long, and they can say things and they know what they mean. So I haven't really found a lot of stories with that. So if you have any, please recommend. But I enjoy, whether they're actual family or whether they're just longtime friends, just having that connection. I like those kind of relationships too.
I am also in sort of a platonic place. So for romantic, I do enjoy Tristan Thorne and Yvain from Neil Gaiman's Stardust. I love them forever. platonic, I have about 1,000 examples, one of which is actually Tyndall and Agatha, which is from J.L. Vampa's series. I love how Tyndall just goes for it. Like, he does not care that she's like a princess and like she's got this whole like I mean, in relationship to Tyndall, she's like super old. Like, he doesn't care if she's powerful. Does not care. Like, just goes right in for the friendship, and I love that about him. And then if any, well, I also like Mel and Reg, but I have to write them, so that's a little bit different. And then if any of you have ever read like One for the Money, the Janet Ivanovich, Stephanie Plum books, Stephanie Plum and Lula, like I can't get enough of them, honestly. Like, Lula is so extra and Stephanie is kind of boring. She plays this bounty hunter in New Jersey, and Lula is like a former prostitute, and they are so different from each other and they get into all sorts of trouble together, but it's always hilarious. Lula is my favorite. So yeah, lots of platonic relationships.
I have
I really
one
appreciate.
thought. They remind me so much. If y'all have read the Finley Donovan books, has anybody read those? They're mysteries, and they are so unrealistic, y'all. Like, they would never happen. Like, things would never go down this way. But the two main characters, Finley and her best friend Vero, have the similar to Stephanie Plum books, because like it's their same silly, like they're complete opposites, but they just pair really well together. So you might like those too.
I was gonna say, I am definitely gonna check those out, because I got through 23 of the Stephanie Plum novels, and I just cannot really deal with it anymore. It's just, nothing has changed. So I need something else similar. Awesome. Well, this one is actually just for you, JL. How does it feel? This is a big one. How does it feel as an author when readers ship a couple that you don't intend to put together?
Terrifying. That's what's happening right now as I'm writing. There's going to be a revolt. I know it. But they're not, these two people are not going to get together, and I'm sorry, they're not. But for writing it, it's hard because, you know, people are starting to want a certain thing. But the way I say it is like, my characters tell me the story. I can't make them change. And if I try to, it's awful. And I've tried to. But it's, as an author, it's kind of scary because you might lose readers. You might make readers angry. But at the end of the day, you just have to write what you have to write. So it's kind of scary.
Do you think there's any situation under which something you hadn't occurred to you before, then suddenly a reader says something and you're like, oh, could I do that?
Yes. There have been things that readers picked out in autumn that I thought, I might run with that idea, because it had sort of occurred to me, but it wasn't solidified. And there's one thing in the entire series that was something intended to be left up to the reader, but so many readers latched onto it that I've gone ahead and pulled at it. And so it's a little more obvious as the books come. So yeah, I feel like readers definitely, especially the ones that, you come in contact with, not just reading reviews and things, but a lot of times readers can influence the story.
So, speaking of readers, Lou and Whitney, how does it feel when an author doesn't put the people together that you are shipping?
Do you want to go first?
I can.
Why?
I think as long as it's done well, like whatever the choice is that they make, the author that is, or the characters, whatever the choice is, like if you just commit to it. One thing I really do not like is a love triangle.
Oh.
I just
No.
That's my least favorite, and so
Really?
love triangle.
Take a love triangle any day.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's my least favorite. And so
Mhm.
then like you have to kind of have a preference, right? You have to either like one of the girls better for the guy or vice versa, or like whatever the deal is. But I don't care if I'm wrong, like if I've chosen a lane and it ends up being the other lane, as long as it's nicely done.
That feels right. I was going to say, for me, it has to do with how realistically and how well developed like the choice like comes together in the story. So I don't like, and I have read a few books where it felt like one ship was going to happen. And then it was like the plot twist was surprise, they fell in love with someone else. And I'm not a huge fan when that happens. Like I need that to feel like realistic. And I don't like it when it feels like so much of the development has gone one direction. And then there's kind of this odd switch. And I'm with Whitney. I can't do the love triangle. It's my least favorite trope. I don't want it.
He's crying.
Stresses me out. I don't like it.
For those of you who are listening to this via podcast, Kimberly is rolling her eyes right now.
He's disagreeing with us.
But I do agree. I do agree on the direction. So when you guys say, you know, there's if the author is writing it towards a certain direction, but yet there's this other, you know, lingering Jacob versus Edward, you know, it's like I do agree, you know, if you're leading me this way, stay this way.
Right. Well, and again, like, and I almost feel like you can make that switch if
it makes sense.
If it makes sense, right? What I don't like is when you kind of have this new character or this side character who swoops in and they're just not like compared to everybody or everything else. They're just underdeveloped or they're flat. And then suddenly that becomes like the shift, that becomes the love interest. And you're supposed to buy into this character has fallen for this person, right? But you don't have as a reader any connection, any sense of who that person is, any sense of why that would be the case. So I think for me, it's got to make sense. It's got to feel realistic. It's got to feel like that's a real full character in the story and not just like the plot device of surprise, you were shipping the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think
so. That's not a complete no.
I think as authors, we have to be really careful how we signpost what's happening, and that we didn't accidentally. I read a series. It was a sort of vampire shifter romance, and I got it from the library, and it was some sort of anniversary edition. So after 6 books, there was a thing with the author, and she was talking about how she had never intended to put these 2 characters together. And I read that and thought, what? But that was the arc you set up in chapter 1 of the first book. So in this particular book, and she'd sort of set up the opening chapter, there's the heroine and the vampire, and she has a prejudice against vampires. And despite this heat, that they have together, this obvious, sort of chemistry, she was never going to go there. That's what she said. So then, of course, that was the arc. Will she get over this particular prejudice and, be with the vampire that's just for her? So, somewhere around book 3, when all these other characters are introduced and other love interests, you're like, what is going on? But she did eventually close the loop there. So, but when I read what she'd said, that she'd never planned to put them together, it was a real like, are you kidding?
So the central thesis, it seems here, is JL, no pressure. Do what you want. Do it right.
Right.
Yeah.
High standards for
that. Just kidding, mostly. Okay, this one is for JL, and then if anybody has an opinion, but I'm gonna bet Kimberly has an opinion here too. So, but JL, what do you think hooks the reader more? The slow burn or the actual spice?
I think that depends on the reader, but if you're not a strictly smut reader, it's slow burn. And I, as a reader and a writer, I can't even make myself write the spice without a very, very long buildup. I mean, I make you work for it. We have established couples and I still make you work for it. I don't know. To me, it's the slow burn because that's what keeps me turning. Like I'm waiting for that one. They finally, instead of just spice. That gets old for me personally. So.
And I just want to say before I do open this up to everyone, if you like slow burn, you cannot do better than the Sisters Solstice series. There are 2 books out right now, and platonic relationships, romantic relationships, whatever it is, like this, so JL writes them as well as or better than most other people that I have ever read. So it's not even necessarily something I am specifically looking for, but I'm looking for it in her books.
Well, spring is all slow too. I guess I don't know how to write a insta love. I can't do insta love.
So you're never writing a Hallmark movie?
No.
That's it.
No.
Okay, everybody else, weigh in. Kimberly, what are your thoughts?
I love the answer. I 100% agree with JL, where it's all about turning the pages, building up, and marking that one page. And I think that's, for me, I mean, again, there's only so many spicy scenes where it's the same thing. Like, okay, we know what happens. So,
Yep.
But it's the emotion for the buildup and how every writer can write differently about that buildup. And that's the exciting, the new thing, so I agree. I'm so happy she said that because I didn't want to have to sit here and duke it out.
You were prepared.
No. I mean, a little.
I also love a slow burn, and for me it can end with a kiss, it can end with like fade to black. It doesn't matter. It's all about that journey. And like if it's a good slow burn, I will read 10 books in 10 days.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I love a slow burn. This is not me saying that I don't love that, but I've read a couple of romances before that are like, I almost want to put it down because it feels like they're never going to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be too slow.
It can be too slow.
Normal, but sometimes I'm like, there's not enough happening. Like the pining isn't enough or something. I'm just like, I know based on the formula that they're going to be together at the end of this book.
Yeah.
Like, help.
I think that depends. Like there has to be good reasons for them not to get together. Like they have to be compelling, and usually like an argument is not enough for me personally. If there's got to be some I don't know, some adventure or something,
That's the center part, the middle part of the book. And that's one of the hardest part. I don't know about you, other authors, but that's the hard part where you've got to fill in all of those, moments that build on this big moment. So I can see if that author had just lost it somewhere in there and gets easily sidetracked, and then you're just like, not reading the rest of this.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that too. Yeah. I think when you get too lost in the middle, like it almost feels like insta love at the back. It's like you're reading a whole book where they're supposed to be together. But it's just the rest of the story is taking like prominence there. And then you wind up with like, oh, surprise, they're in love. And it feels to me like an insta love on the back end. But I'm like, but when it's good and when it's compelling, I keep thinking about Pride and Prejudice just as kind of this like iconic, like love story. And you like think about like that hand flex scene, like in the film, right? Like it's like, he's the only person in that shot is like his hand, right? Like, needed. right? For like so long.
I love it.
And it's such a swoony moment. Like because you have built that tension and that longing and like kind of even that antagonistic side of their relationship where you're getting that friction in their personalities and so yeah, when it's done well, oh man, like that gets me every time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can I ask an off-script question?
Please, I just thought of one too.
I want to hear everybody say what your favorite trope is.
Oh.
Forced marriage. Forced marriage.
Ooh,
I do love.
I'm a fan.
I
have
think
to
mine
think.
is found family.
That's a good one.
It is a really good one.
That is a good one. Dang
If
it.
my phone dies, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be able to use my laptop, and now I'm like running really low on battery over here.
Oh no, we're gonna lose her. I'll go and give y'all some time to think. I really like fake dating or like marriage of convenience where they have to pretend to be together when they're
love it.
not emotionally there.
Yeah.
Yes.
There.
Love it.
I was gonna say that's me too. I am marriage of convenience or forced marriage, either one. I love it when they're not ready yet, and then they have to be ready, and everything else kind of falls together afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
So good.
I'll come back to answer the next episode because I don't know.
We'd love to know what all you listeners are thinking
Yes.
of this one too.
Weigh
So
in.
drop that in the comments. Okay, well then so I do have an unscripted question.
Yeah.
JL, how do you manage all these relationships across multiple books?
It's getting rough. It's hard. There's so many moving, and there's so many point of views. Like I just had to pull in 2 new point of views, 3 new point of views in spring, because we have another sister involved, and then we have a new male character, and then we have Gaius. We have to hear from Gaius now, and so it takes a lot more planning. I'm not a plotter, but I had to plot out at least the major events and relational things, and then I'm having to stop every chapter and plan the next chapter. So it's just taking a lot more time and planning than I'm used to. And then it's just kind of a mess right now, but it'll get there.
It's interesting to hear that you're a pantser, not a plotter.
Yeah, I'm not a plotter. I usually know the beginning, the middle, and the end. Ish. Usually it's an ish. And then the characters literally just sit there and they don't shut up, and I just start writing. And they're still doing that. Like I think I wrote 4,000 words in the last couple of days, which is a lot for me. But then when I got to the end of that chapter, I had to stop and plan a little because it's wacky.
So what do you think? I want to make sure that we get to the lightning round before her phone dies, but I do want to ask you, JL, why do you think we get so invested in fictional relationships?
My really deep philosophical answer is that usually avid readers have faced at least some level of trauma in their lives. And that could be on various levels. But I think that we dive into books as a form of therapy or a form of being accepted and seen. Because the first thing you do automatically is you find yourself in the story in one of the characters. And so I think that's why we get so invested. And, I think it's not even just the romantic relationships, but the platonic ones. And I hear a lot of people knock readers for saying, well, those relationships are so unrealistic. What about your poor husband? That's not, it can't possibly be like that. And it's like, that's not a comparison that we're making at all. When we're writing or reading, it's just, it kind of fills you with endorphins for a little bit, and the characters become your friends. And, it's also a lot easier to deal with fictional people than real people. And we're usually mostly introverts. And so that's kind of what I think it is. But
That's a great answer. I think also we search for patterns and we like predictability. And I think that there is something, especially to fiction, about the predictability that we can count on it, you know, except sometimes we can't because we talked about character death last episode and we were like, what's happening in the book? Yeah. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
That's good.
Or
No,
shall we
I
lightning
think
round?
summed it up really great.
Yeah. You're so smart, Jael. Okay. So here's the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready.
What is your go-to coffee order?
Okay, I'm not ready because it depends where I am. Starbucks, it's always a shaken espresso and iced shaken espresso. And then we have this little place in my town and we don't have anything cool here. So it's like the coolest place in town. And they have something called a honeybee. And it's like a cold brew with honey and lavender, like local honey. And it's so good.
That sounds really yummy.
It is. It's good.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I used to be an early bird, but children have turned me into a night owl because it's the only time it's quiet.
So true. What is your favorite season?
I think all of you could answer that probably. It's autumn. Autumn.
Who are your auto-buy authors?
I'm really picky because I go by book, not by author. So I really only have one, and it's Nicole Eisner. And she does like gothic horror vampire. And I just love her prose. I do love Schwab, B.E. Schwab, but I don't love all of her books. So I'm more of I don't really go by author, I guess. So
No, I love it. Beach or mountains?
Rocky Mountain Beach. Pacific Northwest.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yep. What is a comfort read of yours?
I have reread. Oh my gosh, Quoth. What is it called? Quoth the King Killer. You know the answer to this. What is the name of that book?
Oh, yeah. Nope.
Why did it leave my brain? It's my favorite book. By Patrick Rothfuss. Name of the Wind.
Name of the Wind.
I've read that one a million times, but I also, and it's strange that it's a comfort read, but the Stalking Jack the Ripper series is a major comfort for me. I don't know why. They're like ripping people open and stuff, but I just love it.
I love that audiobook. Then whoever the narrator, I can't think of her name. So good.
I love Thomas Cresswell.
Well, this may come in. These next two may come in to play here. Favorite fictional heroes? Heroines? Any?
I really like Quoth from Name of the Wind because he's just a normal guy. I mean, he's super normal, but everybody thinks he's really cool. And so all these cool things happen to him. And I'm a sucker for the normal person. Like Batman is my favorite superhero because he has no, magical abilities and stuff. Well, I mean, being wealthy is a superpower, but
makes up for a lot.
Yeah.
How about favorite fictional villain?
I tend to really love the villains. I can't think of any by name at the moment. I actually really liked, I did not like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue that much, the story, but I loved The Darkness because I really like Morally Gray, but I really like when you feel for the villain and you kind of move to their side a little bit. So I any villain like that, I'm like, yep, I just love it. So.
Great. Well done. This is not actually a lightning round question, but is there anything you would like to share with our audience? Any links, social profiles, upcoming releases, whatever?
The best place to find all that stuff is my Instagram, which is just Vampa. We did announce Spring, the third book in the Sister Solstice series, is coming out October 17th.
Awesome.
And the special editions really, really overwhelmed me because I didn't expect that many people to order them. So 6 months in advance, they've gone up for pre-order so that we can kind of get a handle on that, because I spent just weeks signing. That's all I did. So they're already up if you are interested in those.
I need to get it. The first one is gorgeous.
I was going to say spring
The special editions.
I do too. So I'm excited about those. And then I do a lot of fun stuff with my Patreon. I don't know if anybody wants, to be a part of that, but we're doing like a pajama party and read along, and we do stuff like that. And I share a bunch of art because I commission art like a crazy person.
Oh, I heard you do maps.
Yes. Well, I do. And I do all my own special edition covers, and I've started doing them for other authors. But yeah, I did my own map. I did Amy's map. I've done a couple others that I can't think of the authors' names at the moment. But yeah, I do that.
So cool.
That's a cool side hustle.
We'll include all the links down in the description.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
We absolutely will. And it has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely.
You are welcome back anytime.
Okay. I'm gonna leave because it's really it's about to die. I'm at 1%. Thank you guys.
Well, to everyone listening, we would love to hear from you. What are your favorite fictional relationships, and why do you think we get so invested in them? Leave your comments below. Also, FYI, our next episode is a doozy, folks. There's been a lot of tension between readers and writers around the topic of book reviews, and for the next episode, we will be digging into that. So make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. You can find us on YouTube, and you can also find us as a podcast on Podbean if podcasts are more your speed. So that's it for us today. I am Amy for the Pens and the Bookmarks, and we'll all see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.